YouTube fans, this is White Fang Talks, coming back again with another video. Today we're going to talk about propaganda, specifically wartime propaganda from the First World War. And this is another sort of book tour and research information. And the book we got in front of us is called Falsehood in Wartime. It's a book by Arthur Ponsonby, 1st Baron Ponsonby of Shoolbred. So if we go into the description here, so we read that Falsehood in Wartime, containing an assortment of lies circulated throughout the nations during the Great War. Written by Arthur Ponsonby in 1928, lists and refutes pieces of propaganda used by the Allied forces against the Central Powers. So this is a book full of wartime lies, aka propaganda that they spread, and you can actually find a copy of this online, like in the archives as a PDF. So we go to this page here, so we go in here, you can actually find a copy of it. So it's got 30 chapters, and obviously we won't go through it all, but for your edification you can click into that. Well, I mean, what propaganda are we talking about? So if we look at one of the ones that they were spreading during the First World War, if nobody's familiar with it, it was called the bayonet baby effect. So this was to do with the propaganda that Germans were spearing babies on bayonets. So if we read here, we'll just read this paragraph here, so because it'll explain a lot. Don't need to read it all. So at the beginning of World War I, 1914, the British press reported that Germans were tossing Belgian babies into the air and catching them with their bayonets, like the Norman Lindsay described in his picture, the bulletin. See pictography, so as reference. So we'll have a look at a picture of it, like propaganda leaflets. So, and then it goes to say Arthur Ponsonby revealed the same story and a similar one of babies having their hands cut off by Germans shortly after invading Belgium on September 2nd, 1914. The Times correspondent quotes French refugees declaring, "They cut off the hands of little boys so that there shall be no more soldiers for France." However, Francesco Nitti, Italian Prime Minister during World War I, stated in his memoirs, "We heard the story of poor little Belgian children whose hands were cut off by the Huns. Mr. Lloyd George, then British MP, and myself carried out on extensive investigations as to the truth of these horrible accusations, some of which at least were told specifically as to names and places. Every case investigated proved to be a myth." So, I mean, this is just a starting block for you guys. You can verify this or not. I've looked into it for quite a while, and I know it was all propaganda. And where this propaganda actually came from was a place called the Ministry of Information. So this is a department that was set up during the First World War and the Second World War to basically spread war propaganda. So if we go to this University of London expose of it, so Ministry of Information. The Ministry of Information was a government department responsible for publicity and propaganda during the Second World War. Ministry of Information remained in Senate House until dissolved in March 1946. So, if we just look at a few things here, again, we won't go through it all, because I don't want to read everything to you guys, otherwise it gets boring, because you can obviously research it for yourself. But again, so World War II began just a few years after the administrator's office moved into their new headquarters, and Senate House was involved from the start. So here we go. Lord Macmillan was appointed the first Minister of Information. So who's Lord Macmillan? These are the things we want to find out, specific people. So Lord Macmillan, as it says here, Hugh Macmillan, Baron Macmillan, was a Scottish advocate, judge, parliamentarian and civil servant. So if we've just seen that he was the first Minister of Information. So if we just go into his life again, and then it goes here, during the First World War, Macmillan served as an Assistant Director of Intelligence for Ministry of Information. So this is a Scottish advocate and judge, yeah, someone that's supposed to uphold the law, honor, integrity, all that, you name it. I swear nothing but the truth, so help me God. Was the Assistant Director of Intelligence for the Ministry of Information during the First World War, promoting propaganda during the war. And as we've seen here, Lord Macmillan, and this Ministry of Information was responsible for campaigns, including the famous Keep Calm and Carry On poster that we were all familiar with. But what it mostly was doing was, it was responsible for responsibility for censor official news. So that's what they were doing. And they started in the First World War, right through the Second World War, and as you can see there, dissolved in March 1946. So now I ask you, is that how can you believe anything that they tell you that happens in war, when a lot of the things are said in the First World War and the Second World War is fake? It's just fake, because it's to get you on side and to get the support of the nation, for soldiers to go and die for reasons that they are not actually telling you. Because another phrase is that all wars are bankers' wars, and people are making money from wars. So I mean, a lot of things that happened during the First World War was like the 1917 Balfour Declaration that a lot of people are not familiar with either. That was signed by Lord Balfour to the Rothschilds because Britain was controlling Palestine, to hand over Palestine to the Rothschilds, and then they needed the Second World War to get as an excuse to get Jews to go into Palestine and create Israel. So it's and in all honesty, I mean, people need to see this, they need to know this research, and they need to know that things that are being spread as if they were true, it's just wartime propaganda. And as long as someone can profit from it, they'll keep the propaganda and the lie going, because they're making money from it. So I thought I'd just bring this little snippet to you guys, and you make up your own mind, and you do your own research, and see what you find, and come to the truth, Don't believe what they tell you. You connect the dots. You be your own detective. This is White Fang Talk signing off. Bye.